Brentford beat Manchester United by 3-1 on Saturday lunchtime. Whatever momentum Manchester United had post the Chelsea game evaporated pretty quickly with that defeat at Brentford. Crookmeister, I was there for this game, and actually what freaked me out about the whole thing is that afterwards, Ruben Amorim said to me that they'd got sucked in to Brentford's way of playing the game. They kicked off the game, Manchester United, by sending the ball back to the goalkeeper, lining all of the outfield players up on the halfway line, and then charging forward to the Brentford penalty area so Altai could kick the ball long. Far from Brentford sucking them into their game, Manchester United decided to play it from the start.
Well, I don't know what Manchester United's game is at this moment in time, Sam, to be honest. And one of the other things that Ruben Amorim, I think, said to you was when we win, it's not the system. And when we lose, it's the system's fault. Well, we don't know because we don't win enough games if you're a Manchester United fan. Every time you think a corner has been turned, there's another slap in the face waiting for you. I mean, the first 2 goals they conceded were an absolute joke, to be honest. From Cunha trying to buy a foul on the edge of the penalty area. I don't know what Harry Maguire was doing, trying to deal with that long punt upfield. The second was a shambles as well. Then they get back into the game. Then they get a penalty, and it should have been a red card for Nathan Collins, by the way. I'm sure Chris Foy on your podcast would agree with that. And then Bruno Fernandes misses the penalty the second time this season. He's had the opportunity to get his team some points on the board. But ultimately, we're nearly a year into this project now. I don't see any signs of improvement. He keeps picking the wrong team. Casemiro suspended. You think, right, this is the opportunity for Kobbie Mainoo to come into midfield, where United have struggled for legs. Instead, he plays Ugarte, who doesn't have the legs to play in the Premier League in this system. Lenny Yora, I think, has been one of the brightest sparks defensively over the course of the season. He's out the team. Harry Maguire comes in. Mason Mount comes on at left wing back because he's so wedded to this system. And I can't believe that there isn't more scrutiny from the Manchester United hierarchy. We reported on Sunday there have been tentative talks with other candidates, including Gareth Southgate, but the message coming out of Old Trafford is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe continues to back this manager. If he was in charge of any other football club, he wouldn't be there anymore. He's been there nearly a year. They've had 33 games in the Premier League. He's taken 34 points. He still hasn't won back-to-back victories. Gary Neville has come out and said he's concerned. Wayne Rooney has come out and said the soul has been ripped out of the football club. This is a manager who is clearly out of his depth.
And breathe. I was looking around for a blanket there. Charlie had almost fallen asleep. That was like asking Marco Silva about the officiating. Crookie barely took a breath in his rant. So should they fire him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Who would you replace him with?
Well, that's the question.
So you don't know who you'd bring in?
Probably Glasner. And I appreciate it's a huge step up. And who knows, maybe he wouldn't even want to leave Crystal Palace. There's not a stellar list of candidates, but that for me isn't a reason to keep an underperforming manager in a job.
Charlie, is it fair to sack a manager like Ruben Amorim, who came in midway through a season, has only had 6 games of a full season, which he's expected to take charge of, even if you don't see a discernible improvement? Because of Manchester United's problems behind the scenes and with recruitment over a long period of time, would it be a rush to judgment to remove him from his position, or is it the right thing to do?
It's hard because, I've been there and I'm a manager. I want to be a manager myself, so to pull the trigger on another manager is very difficult. But performances for a club of Manchester United's size has not been good enough for a long, long time. And we could keep diverging back to your Ten Hags and Van Gaal, David Moyes, right from the start when Sir Alex left. The football club has been, not to a place or a level of expectation of where it's been. So, Alex, the big Manchester United fan, knows more than me. It doesn't feel like it's a place to go that you want to. There's no fear of going to Old Trafford now. I talk about it still as one of the biggest club in the world, alongside Liverpool, your Real Madrid's. It's got that there. It's got the fan base, but the trust is not there from the supporters to the owner, and the owner has to look at it. And if I'm Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who's very wealthy guy, very successful in his businesses, and it's failing the way it's failing at the moment, then like Alex says, there has to be a change at some point. The players, you can't go and change 25 players. The manager eventually will have to change, and I'm disappointed in terms of the way it's gone, because he was a bright manager and done a brilliant job at Sporting, But this is a different animal to Sporting Lisbon, this Manchester United club. This is, say, one of the biggest clubs in the world. The supporters are not happy, and the players don't look happy in terms of what they're doing. But again, the players have to take responsibility. I understand it falls on the manager's head, but I don't think these players are playing to the level. But the manager's not helping himself by not playing certain players in certain positions or in the right positions at the right times. For me, Kobbie Mainoo was a young talent 2 years ago. I'd seen him 3-4 years ago playing for Manchester United under 18s, 19s, and he was the best player. He come into it, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what's happened between him and Amorim. You want to keep your best talents. You have to keep your best players. Manchester United are used to bringing young players through, and after his performances and what he did, played for England, they should have got him on a new contract. They should have gave him the opportunity to live and be Manchester United for a long, long time. For the next 10 years, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build a football club. We're going to build a team round Kobbie Mainoo. And you've seen it with Rashford having to leave the football club because of the strains and the stresses of being a young player coming through. It's not been the performances you expect from Rashford and that, but he needs support. He needs help. At the moment, Kobbie Mainoo, he's I don't know what he's done, but it's not working, and he needs to be in this team to give it a bit of life and a bit of energy. Again, Lenny Yoro as well, is still a young player, but he's a terrific young centre back is learning the game. He's 19 years of age. I think he's got all the attributes to be a top defender. But again, when you're playing with players that are not playing with confidence, it doesn't help the younger players around them. So I believe that they have to try and make changes. And again, it'll fall down to the manager because he's the focus of the football club, and eventually they'll make a change. But for me, we're saying, well, I'm not sure who's Manchester United. Anybody in this world would snap their hand off right now, even though the problems that they have at Manchester United. Any manager in the world would snap their hand off to be Manchester United manager because it's still one of the biggest clubs in the world.
It is, but this has been going on for such a long time. I think some people will say, is it fair to blame just the manager here? Yeah, look, he's got 34 points, 33 points in 34 games. It's a terrible, terrible record. But there are greater things. There are greater things at play here rather than just the manager and his tactics, aren't there? I mean, clearly there are, because otherwise Ten Hag wouldn't have been sacked, Mourinho wouldn't have been sacked, Solskjaer wouldn't have been sacked, Van Nistelrooy would have probably been kept on, or Moyes would have been sacked, Louis van Gaal would have been sacked. There's clearly a huge body of underinvestment or bad recruitment or bad organisation or something that's going on this football.
By the way, we know all of that.
There's been big investment. There's been big investment, but not the right investment. There's been big investment, not right in the right investment. Two different scenarios,
And they've changed the sporting structure now. The complaint used to be, well, there's no director of football. There's no real direction from the owners because they're hands off. Obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying to be more hands on than the Glazers. They've got a new training ground. They're talking about a new stadium, which I think is the least of the issue at this moment in time. But they spent over £200 million on new players in the summer, presumably players that Ruben Amorim had handpicked to play in this system. They still haven't got...
Well, presumably, do you not know whether that's the case or not? Because there is a new recruitment structure in place.
Of course it's the case. He would have approved Cunha and Mbeumo, but there's no number 6. They're short of centre-backs. The left wing-back they signed to play his system is absolutely atrocious.
But they can't do that all in one transfer.
No, they can't.
They wanted to bring in goals. They bought in these 3 players.
And
none of them don't score any goals.
Well, yeah, exactly. So...
They can't bring in another centre-half, another a midfield player, another goal. They can't do everything all in one transfer window, Charlie. It's impossible, isn't it?
But but you want to see progress, and surely the owners want to see progress.
But for these 3 players coming in, again for them, it's a huge step up. Talk about step up size and the pressures. Playing for Brentford to go to Manchester United, to play for Wolves to go to Manchester United, to play for Leipzig to go to Man. It's a huge step up for them again in the struggles, and you've seen it with Rasmus Højlund. There's a big pressure and a big struggle there. But again, I look at it, what you got, and I'm just using Man City as an example when they started it. They brought an experienced sporting director in Cheeky Bernstein, who had been at Barcelona, been there. Manchester United at the moment, Jason Wilcox's pathway to being the sporting director at Manchester United, the biggest club, has not been, it's not been the.
He had 9 months in charge of Southampton.
Who
Yeah,
got
and
relegated.
that's what I'm saying. It's inexperience in terms of running the football club. So
Exactly.
if you look at Sir Jim Radcliffe,
Surely the job of a sporting director at Manchester United, you need to have 10 years experience at the top level to go in and do that job, don't
yeah,
you?
of course, maybe that, and that's what I'm trying to say is that maybe the experience at the top level of the ownership group of the Manchester United is not what it needs to be. They need more experienced people in the top of the football club. So Jim Radcliffe, very successful businessman, he owns Nice, he owns a lot of businesses, but he owns one of the biggest clubs in the world. The pressure is totally different. The mistakes are 10 times more than what you are making at Nice, because it's highlighted and it's, they're Manchester United. So
Totally agree with you. So my point is that if that's the case, and you've got inexperience above people in the dugout, until you sort out that in the top positions, the executive positions, what's the point in keep changing the manager every 5 minutes? Because it's not going to make much of a difference, is it? Ultimately,
well, it will do at some point, but again, it's getting the footings of the football club right. And I still can't believe that Sir Alex doesn't. I don't know if he does, but he doesn't have an input in what the football club are doing, and taking ambassadorial role. I think that shook a lot of people as well. And when you've got somebody like that, the greatest manager of our time around, still available to use, I'd be tapping on his door every single week saying, "Can you help? Can you do this? What do you think? What we're doing?" You have to use these people, because the experience of the people of Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, it's not to what at the moment they've not gained enough experiences at other clubs to then giving you the opportunity to run the size of Manchester United.
okay. Well, we've done a lot on Manchester United. I do think it was a little bit unfair on Bruno that he had to wait so long to take the penalty, but it wasn't a great penalty anyway. That was a big turning point in the game. It does lead to a huge scout for Keith Andrews, who is proving a few people wrong already.
Martin O'Neill revving Martin up, isn't he?
Hey, hold on. Crookie relegated them before the season
Well,
started because he said, "I can't believe they've got the guy who was turned down by MK Don."
Yeah, I said it was unnecessary risk, but I did change my stance on that quite early because
You flip flops. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, you could see actually that Keith Andrews very quickly is getting his ideas across. And again, I don't want to make this a whole debate about Manchester United, but that's a manager who's come in, he's lost his best player, he's lost his captain, he's replacing a very successful manager, someone who was part of the fabric of the football club, and he's managed to put his own ideas across and get some very positive results. So it can be done. And they've not spent hundreds of millions of pounds. Thiago's been exceptional. And actually, he was a player that you and I picked out when Mbuma and Wissa left the football club and said, look, they've got this guy. We've not really seen him because he's got a knee injury. If he stays fit, he might get some goals. And
he certainly has.
The way he took his first one, I mean, it could have gone into Rose Ed, but it's a brilliant finish.
What I do like about Brentford is that, and I don't think take this the wrong way, and Buemo and Visa were the best players, so there's an ego there. Of course there is. And ultimately, it's changed Thomas Frank, who's done extremely well, to bring a young manager in who's picked his sort of pathway and tried to, navigate his pathway into being a first team manager. He was given that opportunity as set play coach, but he was more than that at Brentford. To then give him the job, these players would have gone, well, we've been linked with Manchester United. I'm not too sure this is the right manager for us to work with, the coach. They've done the business. They got rid of the two sort of high-profile players, and he's brought in, good players that have been able to buy into his system and get in there. He's managed to get his ideas over to the group and carry on a plan and change little bits from what Thomas Frank has done, and it's been successful so far. So far, been good. But again, the Premier League, it can hurt you quickly, and he won't want to rest on that, and he'll keep driving these players. So I think he's done a brilliant job so far, and these set play coaches, it gives us all a chance of maybe getting a job one day.
Interestingly, I spoke to him on Saturday, and one of the things he said, and I think this sort of hit home, and it sort of maybe crosses over into Crook's criticism of Ruben Amorim, is that a lot of people, he said, will look at us and go, "Oh, it's a position, we're in transition, we have to be patient, we're in a situation, we've changed the manager, we've lost players or whatever." He said, tough. We can't sit there and use that as an excuse not to put points on the board. This is the Premier League. This is the big boy league. The first thing you have to do is win points and matches. If you get points on the board, you can then develop as you go along. But your first job is, no matter how you do it, to start winning games. And that, I think, has been a criticism of a few managers over the course of the last few years, that they put philosophy and style over gaining points. Your first job is to get points, then you can convince people of your methods afterwards. But it's a lot easier to do that if you're winning football matches, and I think he certainly deserved a little bit of credit for that.